All right, say something again.
Something again.
Okay.
The original. Never heard that joke, have you? Oh my God, I killed it.
Nope. All right, so I guess we're ready to roll. So welcome back to Friends in Austin. My guest today.
I was literally sorry. I drank too much cold brew and then I started thinking about it. All right.
My guest today is Kandace Medina, and she is a comedian here in Austin, Texas. So,
all right, we're good probably.
How's it going?
Oh, it's fine, dude. Chilling, living life in this really sweet house. I'm so uncomfortable in the sense of like, what's the etiquette? Is there etiquette rules? Like, do we have napkin rings? I don't know. But I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think that's why you did it, which is fine.
Yeah. So Zach pointed you out to me and then sent me one of your comedy bits, and it was really funny.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad you liked it. It's something I wrote when I first started, and I don't know. It's fine. I don't do those jokes anymore, but it's a personal thing more so than it's just me being like on one, like trying to prove to people I'm like, I can do better than that. And I really can't. That's probably like my best bit. I don't perform anymore. So I guess like, if you saw it once, that's it. Game over.
So, yeah. So how did you get started in comedy at all? Like when did you decide you wanted to do comedy?
Oh man. I mean, it's like such a long story. I think it's so obnoxious. But I guess like even when I was a kid, like I think, there's like part of me, like I looked up to Chris Farley a lot. Like he was like my dude. I was like, dude, I'm going to be Chris Farley. I was like a young, like 8-year-old girl. Like I'm going to be Chris Farley,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously like RIP, like hopefully I'm not Chris Farley. But yeah, like I just kind of forgot about it. I've always kind of been like the person to like make fun of stuff and like just roast people all the time because it makes me feel better and more comfortable. So I'll do that. And I guess like a little over a year ago, I went to like a run club with my friends, which went really terribly because I was like used to the running club that I did in Houston, which is like, all right, you're gonna do the same route every time. They're on some bullshit, dude. I was like, all right, I'm not doing this. But anyways, it's like a brewery run. Go back to the brewery. She's like, you want to go see my girlfriend do comedy? I'm like, yes. So we go to like an open mic, and I'm such a comedy nerd, like not in the sense that I know a lot of comedians because I really don't, but I just value it so much that I remember being so nervous going to the open mic. I didn't want to cross the curtain into the room because I was like, I'm not worthy of these people telling jokes, like whatever. So I saw it and I just fell in love. Like I fell in love with like not even good comedy. It's just like the whole process of it, like how awful it is and like how like people suck and it's just the greatest thing. And I went a few more weeks after that and I was like, I got really stoned one time and I was just thinking like, I'll never be able to do that. Like this is not even on my radar. Like I could never. And then the next morning I just started writing, like jokes just started coming in my head. And so I just started writing, and the next week I was on stage and just.
And wait, what age was this?
I'm gonna be 30 this year, so I was like 28.
So
29.
This is pretty recent for
yeah.
you. So you were inspired by Chris Farley early on, and then you'd seen some stand up, and you liked the whole scene.
Yeah, like not even just a stand up act, but I think it just come from like a comedian family. Like where none of us are professionals, but like we literally just use humor as a tool to like forget about our trauma and like not talk about any issues. Like we'd rather just make fun of each other. And it's just been a part of our lives. Like me and my dad watch SNL together. Like that's our thing. And improv is not my not my thing, but I don't know. It's just been a part of my life. And so I don't know what it was. Like to be honest, that drove me in there. It was just right place, right time. You catch the bug and you just can't stop. It's an addiction. Like it's a high you will never feel any other way.
I've heard that.
I've tried.
I've heard that. So you started just kind of thinking of jokes, writing jokes down,
Mm-hmm.
and then. Where do you go from there? You're like, okay, I do think I want to do this. I'm going to write some jokes down. What next?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody's different. I mean, it's just up to the comedian like process. A lot of people I know will actually force themselves to write, like sit down, like I'm going to force myself. Like for me, I literally just keep a notepad in my phone. And like if something comes in my mind that I think is funny, like I'll just write it down, right? And then it could sometimes be like a premise or it could be like just a line that I think is funny that I might use somewhere. Or like, even when, it's like one of those things when you do comedy, people always think that like it's off the cuff. It sounds so off the cuff, but it's like really like you've already had the shit like in your mind.
Oh, of course.
Or
like
you're
they're
like
rehearsing it all the time.
Right. Or maybe not. Or maybe I just wrote the line and I found somewhere to use it when someone's asking me like a question or like a heckler's heckling me and I thought of something, so it's stuff like that. But my process is to take those notes and like once a month or whenever I feel like I want something new, I'll take those notes, I'll filter them out and be like, this is trash. This is complete garbage. It's not even funny. Or I'll be like, hey, this got merit to it, so let me write it down in my actual notebook, and then I'll go to open mics and try stuff out.
So that's where you start, is open mics?
Yeah, like no one's gonna you can't just walk into the comedy store and be like, hey dude, I'm gonna do a tight 30. Like, no, like you work years for this, and it's like one of those things that you're never gonna be like, you will, like, comedians, like professional comedians, they'll even tell you this, like, you always think you're garbage. Like, you feel like an imposter all the time, no matter how well you did. Like, you could kill a set and still think, like, I could have done better. Like, you're just chasing this thing that you'll never capture. And it's, like, the weirdest situation. But, like, the process is open micing. You got to take it serious. Like, I was hitting every night. I literally mic'd every single night, at least one mic.
You just find, you had a list of places.
Right. You like come to learn it. It takes a while. And I am very antisocial and awkward. So a lot of people thought I was a bitch, and like, it's totally cool. Like, I get that all the time. People are like, oh, you're such a bitch. And it's like, no, I'm just like very afraid to talk to you and very socially awkward. And also I just don't like small talk. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, like, you know, I'm going to be like, all right, let me do my set and then just like sit here and pretend like everything's fine. Like, and, so, I mean, it's just every mic's different too. And like, you can take advantage of those mics. So there's like a mic that I did every Tuesday, and it's basically where you go up, well, what you're supposed to do. A lot of comics will just keep doing the old same shit, which is like, this is why you're not improving or getting better. But like, I'll like actually take that mic advantage. You're supposed to do only new jokes, or maybe you're working a new tag or something. So I'll open my notebook, literally just say something I've never said before and see if it works. And then I'll hit the next mic and refine it. And I'll hit the next mic and refine it. So in one night, if you take advantage of those 3 mics in one night, you can really get like, you know, like add minutes to your set.
That's all in one night, 3 different ones in one night?
Yeah. Like, so I went really hard. Like, I was so addicted. It was like, it's so hard to express. Like, it was like the thing that saved my life. Like, I can't explain that. And I can't, like, I'm not even being like trying to be like Oprah, like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, like, I'm trying to give you self-help. I don't give a fuck about your life. Like, my life was in shambles and I was not okay. And it was like the thing that saved me. It was like, I would be so depressed and not wanting to get out of bed, but I would not miss a mic. Like, I would get on that stage. Even if I was feeling nothing, I would do it. And it was like that constant in my life. It was like aversion therapy. When I first started, I would have panic attacks. Like, I was so nervous, I would shake on stage, and I would like, it'd sound like I'm breathing, like I just ran. I'd be like, like whatever. People are like, are you okay? Like, I'm kind of nervous right now and on one, so I feel like it's gonna be very heavy breathing, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, it's aversion therapy, and it becomes to where like everything else in my life became like anxiety. So easy to deal with for me now, because it's like every day I was exposing myself to like the harshest anxiety and being so invulnerable. So it's like a thing that saved me. And like now, like, I don't know, I don't do comedy right now just because I can't, like coronavirus. Yeah. And there's opportunities, like I've done some online shows and stuff. It's just not worth it for me. Like, I want to be with an audience and like whatever. And I'm going to take the high road, I guess you could say, and just wait it out and hope that, you know, I'm still okay when we go back to it.
For sure. I mean, I've heard other comedians talk about that, how some of them decided to do it online. Some of them decided not to do it online because they don't feel like it's the same atmosphere. It's just not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was really cool in the beginning. I was fortunate enough to get like kind of a like a residency, if you will, in a certain online comedy show. And it was like fun for me for a little bit, but it was also so stressful because it's like back to square one. Like, what's funny? I don't even know how to be funny online or like do whatever. So if like for me, it was like I did it for a few weeks and then I just quit because like one, the money wasn't worth it. Like at first I was making a lot of money or a decent amount of money for 6 minutes, and then it became like not worth my time because I'd stress out the whole day and they'd be like, it's not even worth it to me. And then the final straw was one time I got bad news. Like, I got asked back to my job after getting laid off, and I was like so stressed out about it because I didn't know what the right decision, because I was like trying to find myself like in this time. And I got so nervous I decided to get like really drunk and high before the show. And the week before I did that, it was totally chill. But like, this was not chill.
Didn't work out.
Did not work out. My whole family said they were going to watch. And so like that was there. And then there was like these really like higher end comics. Like, these are like national headline comics on the show. I ate a huge bag of dicks. And I remember just freaking the fuck out. And like, I remember the comic that was up after me was like this really famous guy. And I was like, I just want to die right now. But it was kind of like a good moment because it brings you back to those moments in comedy where you want to die. Like, when shit goes wrong, like, you would rather die than to face anyone else.
Just
like,
feels super embarrassing.
You feel it's the lowest low. Like, when I say it's the highest highs, it is equally the lowest lows you'll ever feel in your life. Like, you were like, everyone's thinking about it. That was so awful. You're never getting booked again. Like, but that's just the name of the game. People, like, you can't get better unless you put yourself in those situations. And you learn more from what goes wrong than when things go right. but I ended up doing like a a cooking special and like cooking segment, and I like made a Caesar salad and I was trying to pair it with like a shot, but I just started panicking on the Caesar salad. I just fuck it, I'll just make this shot, and I basically just mixed vodka with Caesar dressing and then like chased it with an anchovy, and I was like, I'm that girl now. I'm like, I'm the girl on the internet just doing weird shit, and like I just didn't want to be that, so I was like, I'm just gonna take a break and I'm gonna go funnel my energy into something else. But I accepted the job back the next day, and I was like, clearly this is comedy thing may not work out. Let's go ahead and go back to making people food.
Because of COVID, right? I mean, that's your concern?
I mean, it's definitely a concern of mine, and I go to therapy. Like, I highly recommend it. I do also do a lot of psychedelics just because that's, like, also my therapy. Like,
Me too.
Yeah. It's the greatest thing. Like, I think with psychedelics, they've been one of the biggest tools outside of therapy that have really helped me in my life. And I think in therapy, like, you know, I talk about it and how, like, at first I was so stressed out. I was, like, because I'm a hard worker. Like, I go to work in the morning, bust ass, and then I hit mics all night, and then I do it again every day. And so if I'm not working extremely hard, and that's like, everyone feels that way. I'm like, a lot of people feel that way right now. So I'm not saying poor me. It's just, that was my experience and I was living in it. And I felt like, what am I without comedy? Because it was such like my life. Like, it was literally my life.
You had found something that pulled you out of that depression and gave you something to care about.
It's an addiction. It's an odd addiction.
It's a better addiction than many.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, like if I could, like, sometimes I think about that. Like, if I were to give up everything in my life, like, I just didn't give a fuck. Like, you know, somebody just didn't, and not to say that addicts don't give a fuck. That's a whole other thing. I'm not trying to say anything or offend anyone, but like, you know, like maybe if I were just like to do some heroin and just like wake up and that's my day to day, that might be, you know, you're like experiencing the same thing every day. Whereas like I'm thrusting myself into this really awful lifestyle. It's not cool. Like, it's not fun.
It's not fun.
It's fun to a degree, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, now that I've done comedy, let's just say now that I've done comedy, I won't do heroin. Let's just do that. Maybe.
So going back to when you first started doing these open mics, how many minutes do they give you? Is it about the same for all the open mics?
Every mic's different. And so like, and every mic, even the way that you go up is different. So you have mics that you sign up online and they'll choose people to go. You have mics that it's called go up and show up and go up. You sign up there.
Do you ever go and just not be able to get on?
Yeah, like when you're in the beginning, especially when no one knows you, like you're not getting any priority. You're gonna get bumped all the time.
So it takes you a bit. You sign up for a lot of them. You get on some of them. Then as you get on them more, then they'll prioritize you.
Most of them are show up and go up and show up. Show up and go up, sorry. And it's basically where you go, you sign up, and then you go up. And then there'll be a reordered list, a list that you got there, that's the order. Reordered means like you put your name down. Some host who plays God reorders the list depending on what they want, you know, or you can ask, as you get more clout, you're able to get higher up or like ask to go up earlier to hit another mic or another show. And then every mic is like, some of them are like random. My favorite was like Mr. Tramps is the room I came up in. I love that place. It's god awful. It's disgusting. It is the worst room in sense of like misfits, but it grows you so much as a comic because it's so fucking wild. People throw beers at each other. Like, it gets insane. It's so ratchet.
So the crowd there is
because it's mostly comics in the audience, and every now and again you'll get some people in there, and then you're just hoping
some people.
Yes, you'll get an audience, right? And then like the people, like it's a random draw from a bucket, so you're just hoping. And you can also, some people will cheat the system, be like, oh hey daddy, can I go up early? And then like, all right, sure. And just like hoping to get laid because comics are disgusting. But you know, like you'll draw a name and like you're just hoping to go up before those people burn the audience. Like that will happen. Like comics that will burn the audience. It's like
you're that just like, mean they had such a bad set that
such
the
a bad set or
like,
offensive, and you're just like you spend part of your set hoping to get the audience back. Like, and so that's kind of sucky. But yeah, some mics are 4 minutes. Some of them are 3 minutes. Some of them are 2 minutes. Or not 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes will be usually like the standard, and then the nicer, like not the nicer ones, but like the other ones will be like 4 minutes. And they'll cap it off sometimes if it's like busy season. But yeah.
3 minutes would feel like an eternity up on a microphone.
It doesn't.
Trying to get people to laugh.
At first it does. Like at first you're like, you're cruising, you're speaking fast. Like you're like blah, 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 trying to get everything out. But then as you work more and you understand time better, like you can even feel it. Like I know now, probably not now because I'm out of practice for a few months, but like I would be on stage feeling it, and I would know, like sometimes I would do a show, they're like, all right, we're going to give you, 10 minutes, and I'll be doing pretty okay, so they'll let me keep going, but they don't tell me that, and I can feel it, like in my, like I'm like, damn dude, this has definitely been way too long, and like I'm running out of like steam here, can we just like, give me the light, and then it's when you have to wrap yourself up and kind of know your own timing. But 3 minutes now is like, it feels like nothing, especially when you're trying to work shit out. Like you're like, I really want to work this bit out, but also see how it works against this other bit. But both those bits are like a little over a minute and a half. You got to really cut. It's a lot of cut and paste. It's a lot of like, I call it, I personally I call it a Lego system where like I will detach certain parts of jokes and put them together just to see how like I can make it work. And with the least amount of words to see if those jokes flow. But then obviously when I actually go and do the set, I'm gonna put those jokes together, but I'm gonna add more flair. So it's like, I don't know. Everyone's different. I'm very scientific with the way that I work, I think.
How much time would you say you spend outside of being on stage developing your material and refining your material? And even like, I'm assuming you rehearse it out loud too, right?
Well, I don't rehearse on my own. Like when I first started, I did because I didn't have the stage time. And, you know, like I was going into it. Austin has like this funniest person in Austin contest. And I was convinced to sign up. I was only a month into comedy, the video that you saw. And I was like, I don't have time. I didn't have time. Like I worked that hard just to get that comfortable, you know? I didn't really have time to work it. So I would be in the shower, like doing my set, you know, like figuring out like where can I add flair? What do I want to do? Like whatever. So I did a lot more rehearsing in person. But it became to the point where, yeah, I did so many mics that I didn't really need to do that anymore, where I was like, all right, I want to change this up. So I would, in between driving to different mics in the day, I would be like, damn, dude, that's a better way to say it. Let me say it that way. So like you're already working it through your head. Or I do a lot of when I'm driving or mindless activities, that's when ideas come to me. And that's when I'm like working it out in my own head.
So how would you rate the Austin comedy scene? I mean, when you decided to do comedy here, and you know, you got to find out what mics you can do. Is there, it seems like there's a lot of places. Yeah.
Like I honestly, I do comedy, but I don't have like, you know, I'm not really a comics, like I don't really watch a lot of comedy. I do more now. But so I didn't know what I was getting into. I literally just wanted to tell jokes like on stage. Like I just felt good about it.
Mm-hmm.
But now knowing what I know and like knowing how other cities are, Austin's like A1 if you're trying to be an open micer, like, cause you have so many opportunities, like every single day. Like there's a mic every day. If you want to do it, you're going to do it. And so it's like, I would say it's top notch on the open mic scene. Comedy wise, you will outgrow this pond. A lot of comics I feel do outgrow this pond and they don't go anywhere else. Like they should be going to bigger cities, or they don't. But then there's also a lot of comics who do get fished from here. We got local comics doing JFL, going to LA, going to New York, being writers. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here, in that regard, but the open mic scene itself fucking slaps. Like it is amazing. Cause like New York, you had to pay to go up and like do all this other things. Other cities, LA, you pay money.
It's just because there's so many people that want to open mic there. They're like, look, if you really want to open mic, we might as well make some money off this.
Right, and Austin's just full of a bunch of losers that just have no time on their hands, so they're gonna go feel good about themselves being a hipster. Fucking, that's probably the worst part. So as far as like the time goes to how much I dedicate to this craft, like most of it's just waiting. Like you're literally sitting around waiting to go up, and like before I go up, I'll like restructure. I'll write what I want to talk about or whatever. But like, yeah, most of it's just waiting around, like literally waiting around, smoking cigarettes. Like now I smoke cigarettes and like, I didn't do that before. It's just like, you got nothing else to do and you want to like talk to people. And that's the only I'm like, hey, you got a light? Be my friend. But not really, just like superficially, cause I don't give a fuck. So it's a lot of waiting around, and that's the hardest part. It's just like waiting around, listening through shitty comedy. Cause there's a difference between, in my opinion, I'm not ragging on anyone. Cause like everyone starts somewhere, everyone grows. It's what you take with the opportunity that really makes you. And that's with anything, sports, like whatever the fuck you're trying to do, you're going to be shitty. But like, sometimes it's just really bad. Like it's so bad, but it's like, that's like the good part. Like almost I prefer to sit through a really shitty, like awful comic that everyone hates. Than someone who's gonna crush. It's almost like fun. It's fun both ways, but like, yeah, it's a lot of sitting around waiting. And
yeah, it's like a science experiment almost. I mean,
kind of, dude. Like it's like the most low level science experiment. It's like sponsored by Four Loko science experiment. We're gonna see if energy drink combined with alcohol is gonna give. I don't know. Either way, it's the worst. It's so bad. But it's also like I really do miss it, but in the same time, it's given me opportunities to like flourish in my day-to-day job, which I used to put on the back burner, even though I had so much promise. So like, I don't know, it's fine.
Do you have a lot of comic friends now? Are you kind of getting into that crew or whatever?
I mean, I just, again, like I'm not, like I feel so bad, but I've always been this way where like, I think it's just a social anxiety thing. Like I always have like social anxiety, and I feel like people hate me all the time. So I don't really have like close friends because I
think you're right.
Yeah,
No,
agreed. You're not hurting my feelings, dude. Like, I already feel that way. So you could tell me, you could have even said, I think you're wrong. And I still be like, fuck you, you're wrong. So either way, it's fine. I don't have a lot of comic friends, to be honest with you. I'm a very personal person, and like I kept a lot of that part of my life separate from my actual life. So it's like, for me, it's like, that's a job. Like that's how I saw. I wasn't. A lot of people do use it for the social aspects. So they want to hang out, they want to have friends, they want to drink, they want to have fun, and like part of that is cool. Like when you do get into certain cliques, and I felt really proud of myself for like working my way through all these like awesome comedy cliques, and I was like, oh, these people actually do like you, like you have value. But I'm also like, I just want to be alone. Like I don't want to. But
So you weren't. I mean, your intention wasn't to make friends. In addition to that, you just kind of like didn't fall in with a bunch of people, and it didn't turn into this to where you're always hanging out with comics or anything like that.
No, and like a lot of comics are that way, and I sometimes do have like a lot of FOMO because like I know that if I wanted to do that, I could. It's just a personal thing, like, you know what I mean? Like I really do enjoy keeping that like my two lives separate. Like I don't think I have like one friend who was like my mentor, and like she's the one that I went to see my first open mic. I saw her, and I was when I fell in love with the thing, and she was like a really great mentor to me when I first started, gave me a lot of opportunity, got my foot in the door. She's a friend that like, you know, I'd used to hang out with before COVID and stuff, but even like, you know, I don't know. I don't really talk to, I have a couple friends that, you know, I talk to every now and again, but for the most part, I just feel like I'm like very shut off. I think that's just like how I am, like in general. But that was because I saw comedy as like, this is work. Like this is work for me. Like it's a hobby, but it's also work. So, you know, I would like to party with you, and like I did do a lot of that, like cocaine and partying and like, you know, ratchet shit. But I was gonna
say, is there a lot of? I imagine there's a lot of drugs in the comic scene.
Oh my god, yeah. Have you been like? Oh my gosh, I love this because it's like comedy. It's so easy for like low hanging fruit is drugs. I talk a lot about drugs and alcohol. It's low hanging fruit for me. And it's just because everyone does it. Like there's like very few sober comics, and that's fine. Like I'm not shitting on that either. Like sobriety's tight. But like, there's a lot of drugs and alcohol that's involved in comedy. Like, I did whippets not whippets. I did not for the first. No, I didn't. I did do them, but not for the first. What's the poppers? I did poppers for the first time at a comic bar in Austin, and someone was like, "Oh, I favored poppers here." I'm like, what's poppers? Like I thought it was just like I had no idea. Like I've
never done poppers.
Oh, don't do them. It's it's cool. It's like very much like whippets. Like it's cool for a few seconds. It was the worst hangover of my life the next day. Because I was already drinking, and then like I have an affinity for just like doing things in excess. So I was just like, give me it's called VCR cleaner. That's how they're able to get away with it. You like inhale it, and then it loosens your asshole. But that's not what I was doing it for. I just was like, it like makes you feel like a little bit whippety. So
yeah.
like,
so it's similar to whippets. I like whippets.
Yeah. So yeah, kill the brain cells. I love it.
Yeah.
Never be the same again. But I was just like, and like I was like, never the fuck again will I ever do that. But yeah, I mean, you can do all sorts of things. Tons of cocaine, tons of, you know, obviously weed. Everyone's smoking weed all the time. I don't before sets, but I'll do afterwards. I just have the one time I had a good time though. I just smoked before a set I didn't give a fuck about. It was an open mic. I was like giggling the whole time, and it made the jokes funnier because I was just laughing at my own jokes because I was like, damn, like this is, and I forgot, like there's like one new joke I wrote, and I was like trying to remember, and I was just standing there like this, and I was like, oh yeah, like I think I said like I think the punchline was like lesser sentencing for fucking children or something like that. It was very offensive and not cool, but it was funny to me at the time.
Have you ever made any jokes that you got shit for?
Yeah. When I first started out, like I was what I would consider like an edgelord, and I wasn't trying to be. Those are things that made, like, I have a very dark sense of humor, so there's nothing off limits to me. I feel like when people put limits on what you're able to joke with in comedy, that's you actually have like a low key issue on that thing. So if you're not wanting to joke about pedophilia or like racism or whatever, that's on you, dude. Like you have an issue low lying. So there's nothing off the table for me. So one of the first jokes I ever wrote, which did get a lot of hits for a while, I did it, and it involves the word retard, and you know, I know I don't do that joke at all.
Wait, is that because things have changed, or just because
it's just because my style has changed as a comic? There's tons, like I found a dry erase board when I was moving that all these jokes that when I originally started I was doing, I don't even do the jokes at all. So yeah, there's just part of like, you know, the growing pains of being a comic, and you know, I'm sure there are times where you can use the hard R and it's funny, like you can be like, oh, I'm retard, and like people will laugh. It just didn't fit my growth as a comic as I got more refined and a little bit more like, you know, palatable. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's still, yeah. It was also self-deprecating. So like it gave a lot of people like a pullback. A lot of things that I experienced as a female comic, which still kind of pissed me off today, is like that if I was a male saying these jokes, like they wouldn't mind, but it's because I'm talking about my own body that like people think that I should feel better about myself. Like after shows, people would, it was with the hard R joke, but that's why the hard R wasn't even the big deal. It was the fact, it was actually the body, like, you know, the shaming of my own self, but that was my own working through issues. So like it was therapeutic for me, but for other people couldn't handle it. Cause they're like, I had someone, they'd be like, people would come up after mics, like women, and be like, you're so beautiful. I'm like, you're literally proving my point. Like, you're trying to make me feel better because you think I feel bad. Like, I don't. I love myself. Like, I love myself better than you. You're sloppy drunk at a disgusting bar at 2 a.m. listening to shit comedy. So, like, I don't need this pep talk, lady, you do. Like, you know, but that's how it was. And I had a guy who was like, I like your set. I just don't like how you talk so badly about yourself. And I was like, well, I literally said this, like, if I was a man, would that change anything? He was like, yeah. And I was like, exactly. Like, that's my fucking point.
So
like,
it's people shaming you for the way that you're talking about your own damn self.
Right. And I'm like, that's my thing. But it's like, I think women in society, like, I think people think that we're so fragile and we're so whatever, but it's like, we're not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're allowed to talk about these things and we're allowed to say that. But also just wasn't a funny joke, so I scrapped it. Like, now looking back, it wasn't funny, but it was funny in a way, you know? So it was like, yeah, it's fucking fine. I don't want to talk about it.
So you haven't seen like a cultural shift in what do you like edit or audit yourself more than you used to? Because I know that a thing in comedy that people are talking about a lot now is that like they can't get away with as much shit. They get too much shit and they're like, I'm just joking. It's a joke. I'm a comedian. I'm like, a lot of people when I first started, and even now, they say that they're like watching me because it's like I don't give a fuck, which I don't know how to process that. It's like, okay, sure, I do care, but I'm willing to make any joke. And then if there's blowback or if it's not something, then I'll have those people in those groups talk to me about it. But if you're like somebody who doesn't feel comfortable with it and you don't even apply to that demographic, I may take it with a grain of salt. Like, I'll listen to you. I'll listen to any feedback. But like, there are jokes where I know personally, like, which are funny and like, or they have kernels of being funny, but I'm not telling it right. So like, that's on me. But for me, there's really nothing off the table, to be honest with you. Like, I've talked about pretty much everything. Like, I don't really think there's anything that I haven't really touched. Because to me, it's like, as a society, we need to touch on those things. And comedy is a really great tool to digest the issues within our culture and within our society. So for me, it's like, I'm going to tell that joke and I'm going to make you uncomfortable. I'm going to make you face that. I'm going to make you, like, I had a joke that, some lady, there's a comedy show called Off Script that I apprenticed for, that I also do, or I used to do. And it's basically a heckling show. People are allowed to heckle you. And as a comic, you just have to respond. Like, this is the only show that you're allowed to heckle because it's so like wrong to do in general. But there was this girl and she's like, isn't that racist? Because I was making a joke about it was like a pedophilia joke. Like, I was groomed when I was in high school, like whatever, by my Spanish teacher. And it's like something in it alludes to like, it's like a misdirect basically. And she was like, isn't that racist? I was like, I don't know, is it? Because I'd never once mentioned the race of my Spanish teacher. You drew those lines like, are you racist? She was like, am I? I'm like, a little bit. You know what I mean? Because we're so, like, especially now, especially with millennials in this day and age, like, everyone's such a social justice warrior. Like, they want to stand up for everyone else. But I mean, if you wanted to stand up for someone else, like everyone else, maybe like do something bigger than telling me that I wrote a joke that's insensitive, because it's like, that's just, you know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't seem like the way to go about it.
I mean, but yeah, I'm open to all like criticism all the time. Like, I take it all the time. A lot of people are wrong. A lot of comics will try to tell me how to improve on my jokes and shit, and that bothers me because I'm like, you're wrong. I know what I'm doing. Like, not like I know what I'm doing, I'm better than you. It's just like, I know I'm the artist, right? Like, no one, people probably told Picasso that he was a classically trained artist. People were probably like, oh man, she looks really bad. Like, you know, these are some pretty bad portraits, dude. And he was like, no, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, he had a vision.
Yeah. His style.
Right. And so like, same thing with me. Like, and it's a growing pain as an artist. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong, but I'm going to keep going and I'll listen to you. But I know in my heart what I want.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to grab a drink real quick.
Can you grab me? Actually, I already have a bevy.
You good?
Yeah. I usually get a, like, sometimes I have like a deck beer, I call it. I started it when I was watching like a baseball game, and someone was like, I would have deck beers, and I was like, deck beers. So it's whenever you finish one, you have one on deck, and I was like, this is so baseball, right? And then I started doing it in my real life, and I think that's why people think I have a problem. It's fine though. Yeah, I mean, that's just responsible, dude. There you go. Duct tape it. You got a wand. Like, that's just, Got a once. Yeah. Black out at your niece's second birthday once. People think that you got an issue.
Speaking of millennials, I watched Jim Jeffries' latest special. I'd say he's my favorite comedian right now.
Jim Jeffries?
Jim Jeffries. Do you like him?
I honestly don't watch. I don't know. I told you.
You don't watch a lot of comedy.
I told you I'm the fucking worst. Like, I don't have any, like, man. I met somebody the first female I thought was funny of this generation. I met her, and I made a big hoopla about it because my friend actually knew her, and she was in town. And then I got drunk at the comedy club and, like, didn't make a fool of myself, but I was, like, definitely, it was not chill. It's like, yeah, I regret that. If you're listening, Amy Miller, I'm so sorry for being so weird.
I regret that.
Anyways, but yeah, millennial or Jim Jeffries.
He was just shitting on millennials, but I think that people forget that like most of what they're shitting on is actually like Gen Z. It's like it's just kind of like the millennial thing's kind of over. You're now like the generation has changed. Like we're in the clear now.
Hot take, I disagree. I think that Gen Z has a little bit of flair and flavor that that millennials don't have. Like Gen Z actually has this kind of like they already have it built in like social justice warrior, but in the actual sense. Like they believe in equal rights. They believe in like everyone being completely equal, orientations open. They understand that. Like I met like a kid who's like 17, 18 years old, and like I didn't even have to ask him what his orientation was because I didn't give a shit because he seemed pretty straight appearing, but then I saw him one day come to the restaurant with fishnets on and shorts, and I didn't give a shit. Like that's Gen Z, dude. They fucking slap, dude. They don't give a fuck, and I love it, but they are also so true with their beliefs. Whereas millennials, they're the ones that are still kind of like this overlap of like, we're trying to change our own minds, right? And we're trying to get better at that. But we're also going to be, we grew up on social media and like, we're just as much as addicted as Gen Z, but like, I feel like we're full of shit. I've met so many people, but Austin, I will say that right now, full of shit, dude. Everyone in Austin, I'm not talking about, and I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible here, but like all the protests and stuff going on, like it's a lot of white people because Austin is a white city, and I'm not hating on that. I don't give a shit. But, like, if you really cared, give people their fucking houses back. Like, this is #1 gentrification place. Let's bring it, you know what I mean? Like, that's my biggest whatever. And I'm not going to hate on it. I think activism's great, as long as you're actually following through, right? Like, I'm actually following through. Like, I'm not protesting, but I am, like, you know, buying from black businesses, donating money, and I don't even promote it. I don't even tell people about it, you know? So it's, like, one of those things. It's, like, I think millennials are just full of absolute shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of advertising of... Wait. You know what they're doing.
It's virtue signaling.
Sometimes more about that than actually doing the thing.
It's virtue signaling because they see they can get an easy like or an easy like, wow, you're a good person because you did X, Y, or Z, and it's just, I mean, it's not the case either way. I mean, we're all fucked. Like, let's just talk about that. I mean, I definitely have hope for the future, but I don't know. I'm in such a weird mental space. I'm like, I'm doing what I can. I'm signing petitions. I'm donating money. I'm buying different products from different types of people. And like, I'm just trying to do my best as like a consumer and a person and a voter. But you're not going to see me, like, I'll post some small stuff on the internet, but I'm not going to go gung ho on it because I actually met, somebody who knew a girl who was at the protest and she got her ass kicked, by some cops, like whatever. I'm not saying she deserved it or anything, but it was like the most ironic thing because then she was like, poor me on GoFundMe, got money, and then was like saying that no one cared that she got this. I'm like, that's the whole point. Like, that's the irony in it. Is like, if you were black and you got your ass beat, you wouldn't hear about it, right? But you're crying there and like saying, poor me. It's not a fucking about you. What were you at the protest for then? Like, what do you expect to happen? But it's like those kind of people suck major ass. Damn, that took a really sad turn. But no, like I just, my main thing is just, it doesn't matter your generation. You have the ability to change your mind. Like, you have the ability to, as you gain knowledge, to be a better person and to make the right choices to be a good human. And you should probably all take psychedelics and you'll see that shit. Like, that's honestly how I feel. Like, I don't know, like, I'll be honest, like, I had a really weird childhood, very right-wing Christian, racist family, and I grew up like that for a long time. But I got educated, I went to college, like, and it changed my life. Like,
where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Houston, born in Galveston, Texas.
Mm-hmm. So you're a native Texan.
I don't know what that means. Like, I'm definitely more of an East Coast girl at heart. Like, I'll end up there eventually, but
really?
I love Texas. Yeah, East Coast is tight, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They're all assholes, and it's like, I can literally be my most sarcastic self. Like, I could really shit on you. Like, I know this guy from New York, and he works with me, and we just, like, go hard. Like, we go hard, but we don't apologize, because, like, we know that we're fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And, like, you know, the only thing I miss is, like, I genuinely do like being nice to people, and that part's gonna suck.
Mm-hmm. But you like people that can really shit on each other hard and not get butthurt about it?
Dude, my family, my dad's side, actually, in particular, like we're like the same people. Like if we have an issue, we literally joke about it. Like we will fuck, like never bring a significant other to dinner. Don't do that because they're gonna shit on you hard, and you better have thick skin because like they're gonna mean it a little bit. Like, but it's just how we show love. We don't really, we work through issues like a little bit, but mostly we just like joke about them to get over it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember my brother one time we were out like at a bar and my cousin started like being all like emotional and he was like, my dad left me. And my brother's like, nobody wants to hear about that shit right now. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's and you know, we do love each other, but it's just like, that's just kind of how we get along. And that's why people thought I was a bitch for the longest part of my life. Cause now I'm more charming, but like back when I was younger, people like to this day thought I was like such a bitch, but it's just cause like I'm sarcastic and I'm sorry that like you're not like cool enough to get it. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm not saying that. I was also a little bit of a bitch too.
But your dad had a point. I mean, it's weird. You get in social situations and people are kind of doing or saying something that's annoying and like you get uncomfortable and you're like, I almost feel like I should point that out to that person to like help them learn that that's not what you do.
Yeah.
But it's better to do it in a funny way if you can.
Yeah, yeah. Like we're all very funny people, like very charming, funny. Like I'm not gassing myself up, but I know I'm charming, so it's fine. But yeah, like I love my family. Like, they're the reason why I am the way that I am, but I'm also like very emotional too. And like my dad's so funny. Like he, I guess like started like, you know, just getting older and like realizing his mortality. And like he used to be like a hard ass, and now he's like I think not the breaking point, but like we've gotten closer after like one time I got blackout and just like blasted off on him, and he like showed me that it wasn't true, like all the things that I felt, and we're really close now, and we like talk a lot about emotional stuff and like all this stuff. But then like this one time, he came to Austin, and we were like hanging out at his hotel swimming and just getting fucked. Like we got really fucked up, and he just started crying. He was like, "I love you so much," like da da da. But he was also like, "You're a fuck up, and you're not." You're not getting your inheritance unless you like have 10 grand saved or some shit. And I was like, all right, sick dude. I guess I'm not getting it.
I guess I'm not getting it.
Yeah, just fine. It's totally cool. No, I love my dad. He's the right amount of like emotional versus like, you know, like we will still hate on each other like hard. Like we will, and we just have like a lot of callbacks through our day to day. Like we'll hang out all day and like he'll say something and then I'll make fun of it for it later. Like I'm like basically take what he said and turn it on himself later. And it's just so much fun. Like good times.
What about your mom? Are they together?
No, my parents got divorced a month after I was born. So it's like not tragic because I didn't know anything different. Although I was like, hey, everyone just travels to see their parents. Like, I don't know. It was fine. My mom and I, we have a strained relationship now just because I found a lot about her family when I was in my early 20s. I don't talk to them anymore. And I think that she's just a victim of inherited trauma and she's probably not going to heal. So instead of me, you know, being a victim of that too, I just like learn to let go. Like I learned to like love my mother. I love her deeply, but you know, we're not very close in the sense that like we don't really talk about deep stuff because she won't accept it and instead just kind of like deflects and like whatever. So we're not as close, but I love her deeply. I don't want to.
She's got her walls up a bit.
Not that she had her walls up. It's just that she will never accept responsibility for. I had a pretty rough childhood and like she won't accept responsibility for those things and like why I was so fucked up until like 2 years ago, like really like mentally not okay. And it's just based on my childhood, like truly, like I was neglected pretty badly, you know, just because she was a working mom, but like she also like, you know, she just learned from her own mother who was a piece of shit, who's a scumbag, and I hope she dies very soon and no one goes to her funeral. I'll say that aloud. I don't give a fuck. She's a scumbag human, but she's also ironically the lady in the first pew every week at church, so she's right with God, so hope she's right with God when she goes to hell. That's so fucked up, but it's true. But yeah, like I think she's just, my mom's never going to be able to accept and heal. And she learned from her own ways, from her own mother being a manipulative sociopath, scumbag, neglective person, you know, kind of like, you know, my brother got a lot better preferential treatment when I was a kid. Let's just say that, like a lot of money was put into his fostering of his, everything he wanted to do. And like, I was kind of just like the one left out and had to make a lot of sacrifices and felt very unloved and uncared for a lot of my life. So it sounds tragic, but it's like truly not, It's pretty liberating, honestly, because I don't have to rely on anyone but myself.
Was he firstborn or you?
Yeah, he's the firstborn. He's treated like a fucking king, dude. Like, he's the king crab legs of crabs.
You guys are close, though, aren't you?
We're so close. Yeah, we're very close. Just because, I mean, you know, he was a piece of shit when I was growing up. Like, I was supposed to be, like, the stereotypically successful one and like whatever, but because he was, yeah. Oh wow, why do you sound so surprised? Like, whoa, you?
Well, just because everything you just said.
What?
What?
No. Yeah, I mean,
Why? Because you just didn't get as much trouble. Did you try harder in school?
Yeah, exactly, and that's
you
why
had the good grades.
Exactly. Like I have this complex, and people always, even at work, they're like, "Why do you give a fuck so much? Like, why do you always try to be so perfect?" And it's just because I think it just stems from my childhood and like thinking that if I were doing everything perfectly and I was always great, like they would finally acknowledge me or do something nice for me, like whatever. You know, it's kind of that kind of complex. But my brother was a scumbag, bro. Like he was always very smart. He's so smart. Like a little bit smarter than me, probably same. I don't really know.
He's a troublemaker.
He's a troublemaker, and
a lot of smart kids are troublemakers.
I was too, but I was smart about it. Like I was like the nerdy kid, but also like skipped school and would come to school drunk when I'm in my senior year and like convinced my teacher to give me an A. Like somehow without sucking his dick. I don't know. Then nothing went down with that, but I did see him a few years later at a wedding as a photographer, and he was just as sweaty and disgusting, and he was just like taking pictures of me, and it was very awkward.
You convinced him to give you an A without sucking his dick, but he was also being weird about it?
No, he wasn't weird about it until years later at that wedding when it was like, you should be taking pictures of like the wedding, and like I would be like just over here, and it was a dry wedding, so I wasn't dancing or anything, so I just I did slip some gin in my car, but like I was just chilling. I could just feel him just like snapping pictures, and I was like, this is so like uncomfortable, like gross. It was not chill. But he was fine. I forgot what his name was. I would love to call him out, but he didn't do anything wrong. He just gave me an A.
Yeah. I mean, shit, he gave you an A. Don't throw him under.
Yeah, I'm not throwing him under, dude.
We had this guy I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
We had this guy that would come into the wrestling matches and take pictures and shit, and he seemed really creepy. He had to get kicked out eventually. Like,
why?
He was posing as a photographer, but he was kind of just a creep.
Dude, prove it. First off, I'm going to play devil's advocate for that guy because maybe he just misses his golden years of wrestling and he wants to live vicariously through you guys. And here you are making him seem like a scumbag, and he's just trying to live life. You know, his wife's dead, everyone died, and this is the only joy he has left. And you guys were get the fuck out. Stop looking at her dicks.
The coach would be like, do you have a photographer's pass? No, you got to leave.
He's an apprentice. You guys are just shutting this guy down. He's like, I'm just trying to better my life. Like, and I'm learning a skill.
So your family situation's interesting though. So your brother got most of the emphasis on success, although you were the goody, not a goody two shoes necessarily. I was. A bit. But
I rebelled. Like that was like when around third grade is when things started changing. I started to feel like effects of like anxiety and depression, and like my behavior changed at school. I became like the goody two shoes kid to being very smart and capable, but I was also the bully, and I was like a bully for like 3 years.
You're a bully for 3 years? What would you do?
Oh my god, dude, I was like the worst. So like I ran with the boys. I've always been like a tomboy, and I was always like, girls are boring and like lame, and they're so like I hated it. And so I'd run with the boys, and like there's this like, couple group that I fell in, and we were just like, they became like my mentors for bullying. So I wasn't a mean person, like, you know. And I think the first instance was like, it was my third grade year, and there was like this Russian like kid that came to America, and he was like, I was like his mentor, I guess, and I was like helping with his homework and doing stuff, and I got nominated an award for being like a good kid. And then like my friend at the time, like I guess I don't know what the turn was, but I started getting really annoyed with the kid, and like I didn't do it, but this kid ended up spitting on this kid and like making fun of him for eating ketchup with his spaghetti and shit. And like I didn't help the situation. I don't remember what I did. I think I blocked it out. But to get back at me, one of my teachers forced me for the hoedown to be his dance partner, and I said, "Fuck no, Mom, I'm not going." So I didn't go. And Dan, his name was Dan. I'm so sorry. He's probably back in Russia. He's probably really mentally stunted. I feel bad. I had so much regret. And then like even up until 5th grade, there was a girl that I used to kind of bully, and I was in high school, and I remember I went to have lunch with her, and I told her like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for like everything." Like I regret it. Like I don't have any malice in my heart. I think I was just going through my own shit.
Kids are kids. I mean, I did some shit in high school I regret too.
Yeah, probably still now too.
You're also immature, and your brain's not fully developed. I mean, you can't really drag that shit through your whole life. Right.
And like I'm a good person now. I believe in doing all the right stuff. I do the right thing all the time. Like I'm a good person. I'm never doing things out of malice. Like I love people. But yeah, I mean, it was just I was acting out at school, and like, but I was always still like straight A kid. AP classes, like always just doing the best, doing the damn thing. And my brother was just like half-assing it, skipping school, fucking bitches, smoking weed, like all. And everyone thought that he was like, you know, whatever. He went to the Marine Corps and just like turned his life around. Went to the top business schools in the country, like everything. Now he's an investment banker. And like I went to school to do the right thing, but again, it was just unchecked mental health. I had no support from my parents, like not financially, not even the financial side of it. It was just like no one gave a fuck. Like
No one seemed to care. They
no
care
one cared
about their
about
son,
me.
but they don't care about their daughter.
Because he would come home from like the Marine Corps and be like, oh, what do you want for dinner? Like, let's cook it. Let's cook all your favorite things. Let's like, you're a king, daddy. But like, he was like, he treated my mom like shit. He treated me like shit. My mom was also psycho though. She used to like throw shit at me. She told me I was a bitch. She hated me, like all sorts of crazy shit. And my brother was like, he just has unchecked anger issues still to this day. Like it's really bad. Like he'll just at the drop of a hat. And then I probably combined with like a touch of PTSD now. It's probably not chill. But like he would like just beat the shit out of me. Not even fun. Like we did wrestle and like have fun like a lot of times, but he would also just get angry and just beat the shit out of me like in a very not chill way.
Yeah.
He was just like an asshole. And but yeah, I mean that's why it was like so awful that he got so much of everything and like whatever. And I just like I was making sacrifices all the time. It'd be like, hey, you can't get that item that you've been wanting because we have to get him a haircut today. Mm-hmm. Or you can't do like, it's like everything. I got took out of sports and everything when we moved to Houston. And I was like such a great softball player, dancer, everything. And they're like, we can't afford it. We're going to put your brother in baseball though. Like,
so you just basically grew up as a second-class citizen.
Yeah, and it's like kind of cool though. It's like very liberating in a way because like I consider myself a fuck up for like because I went to college and then had an okay job and then now I'm like working in a restaurant. And I like held a lot of that guilt of like I'm such a fuck up. But then I think about how great I am at pursuing my passions and like being really good at a lot of things. Whereas my brother took like this like he's always wanted sass and money. Like when we were kids, he never wanted anyone to know we were poor. He was always getting polo shit and like just pretending to be whatever the fuck. So he like loves status and money and like that's where he is now. But then he sees this passionate side of himself, which is like cooking. And like he's kind of seeing like that he's trapped in that lifestyle like now,
Yeah, we talked about this a bit when you first got here, how you value basically being happy over like, you got good grades, you went to college, you got a professional career and you just kind of weren't happy. And that was do you think that's where a lot of your anxiety and depression was coming from?
No, I think it was just because it was just an unchecked thing. I never got proper treatment for it. I think I never got to talk about my issues. I didn't even know where they stemmed from. That's why I value psychedelics so much, is because it's like almost like putting me in touch with all those things and kind of like showing me the light of like why I am the way that I am and why I thought the way that I thought. It was just being unhappy and not finding anything in life to make me happy, feeling like I did all the right things and it wasn't enough. Like, and now I don't give a shit. Like I'm so good at the things that I do. And that's why because I built all these tools to strive for perfection, that like now I'm able to express that in a creative way versus being like beating myself up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Having a high pressure job, like whatever. Like I have a high pressure job now, but like I love it. Like I thrive. Mm-hmm. That's a combination of a lot of things, but
with psychedelics, with, having anxiety, are you still experiencing on occasion any anxiety aside from like going on stage or anything like that?
I mean, even the stage anxiety isn't too bad unless I'm in a club that makes me nervous. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I just feel like I feel good about it. It's like kind of like once I get that first laugh, I'm usually okay. But the actual anxiety, like it was just like I don't really deal with it too much anymore. Like because I go to therapy and like all I got to do is talk about it and know that how irrational and insane it is.
That works well for you.
It works well for me, but like I think the psychedelics that have really healed me is definitely mushrooms. Like I'm a huge believer in that. Acid, it's okay, but like
just an 8-hour thing. It's like
yeah, it's fine.
You don't always have 8 hours.
Yeah, exactly, and also it's just not. I think mushrooms just feel a little bit more natural for me.
They do. They really, and there's really no hangover from it. Whereas acid, I don't know.
It's electric, dude.
I feel
like
a little drained.
A little bit weird. And that's the thing is I'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as like the mushrooms go, I think the most profound trip I had, because I take smaller doses and kind of just like do regular shit, and that kind of like is like where the keys happen. But like the day before New Year's this year, I already healed a lot from comedy, but it was also it was like my biggest like relief like in life. Like it was like a big tool for me to get over stuff, but it was also my biggest anxiety because it's like you're constantly wanting to be the best. Like, and for someone like me who has to be the best all the time, it's high pressure and you feel the pressure, and it's a lot of imposter syndrome and it's a lot of things like, should I quit? Like, should I quit while I'm ahead? Like I had a lot of those thoughts. Like people are going to realize I'm not funny and then like I should not be doing this and like da-da-da. And so over the New Year's, like I was on that cusp of like, do I still want to do this? Do I want to just stop and just go a different direction? Because it was so much anxiety. I was just doing it all the time because it's like your greatest relief, but your greatest source of anxiety as well. And I tripped some mushrooms on my friend's property, and this sounds so fucking psychedelic, like stupid story, but like we were walking down on the side of the banks of the river. I see this fucking I thought it was an eagle or something. I think it might have been a hawk or a vulture. My friend said it was a vulture. I thought it was a hawk at the time. But right when it flew over, I had this connection with the anxiety. I've always held anxiety in my chest. Like it's like almost like a physical weight I can feel. And I connected that when that I fucking saw this what I thought was a hawk. I was like, oh shit. And all of a sudden, like every layer of my anxiety was like a revelation of like why I do the things that I do, like why I like eat in excess or drink in excess or do all these things. I realized I'm trying to quiet this like heavy weight. And it was almost like, damn, dude. I was like, I don't need to do those things. Like, and it was like almost a revelation for my own life. And it kind of healed that anxiety. And now I know like I'm not going to go do those things that give me anxiety. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to go party and be irresponsible all the time because it gives me anxiety, or I'm not going to do XYZ because it gives me anxiety. So it's like almost like healing that side of yourself and kind of realizing things within yourself. And even before that, like I would trip in at Commons Ford. And it was like me and my friend on a weekday like last year, and like just took a little bit of mushrooms. And I used to have like this darkness. I don't really feel it anymore, but I had this darkness like about me that I felt like everyone hated me and that I was a bad person. Like I genuinely felt like I was a horrible person. And I was on mushrooms, and all of a sudden I was like, dude, everyone loves you, dude. Like everyone loves working with you. Like you need to treat yourself like everyone else treats you because you are a good person. And it was like, it just heals me through like the crazy anxiety, like that are very deep thoughts. As far as acid goes, I had just did acid for the first time in like 10 years. Cause like 10 years ago, or maybe like 8 years ago, I did some acid and it was way too much. Like it was like, we go to this guy's house. He's like, hey, I haven't had time to drop it on paper. I'm just gonna drop it into your mouth. And we're like, all right, sick. Drops in our mouth. I'm thinking I'm taking like 3 hits or something. We drive to the campsite. We're starting a trip. Like, oh shit. And the next thing you know, it's like I have like an acid blackout. And then I get up and I'm in a loop, dude. I'm like seeing everything in circles. Like I'm in a dome. I'm like saying the same shits over. I'm like literally walking in a circle. It was the worst. It was the fucking, it was like not chill. I was having a very bad time. I couldn't even go to the bathroom because I was in a circle. I had to keep walking circles. And I was like so afraid that people could see me in the fucking woods. And it was like the most insane I've ever felt in my life. And I just like I hadn't done it since. And then like 2 weeks ago or something, the night before I decided to move, which this was an awful idea, but I was at a going away party for a friend. It was social distance. Like we were outside, whatever. And my friends were like, you want to do like a microdose of acid? I'm like, yeah, dude, love microdosing. Let's fucking do it. She gives me a piece of paper, no lie, like the size of like maybe a sprinkle. It's so tiny. Mm-hmm. We take it. We go to my friend's pool. We're all hanging out. I'd also got a tiny like, little sliver of mushroom. Like it couldn't have been more than like 0.25 grams, at the most, 0.5 grams. So I wasn't even worried about it. I knew I had to move the next day, but I was like, fuck it. Got some Adderall, just push through it, whatever. And so we do that. We get inside after the pool, and I wasn't really feeling too much. I was feeling kind of cool, and I was like, oh, it must be the microdose. Dude, feeling kind of good. And then we go inside. It's like 3 a.m., and then all of a sudden, we're all like, oh, shit. Like, 1, not a microdose. It was, like, very hefty. 2, fuck. I got to wake up in a few hours, and I'm tripping balls right now. And it was like, that's why I don't like acid, dude. Like, on mushrooms, I can fucking do anything. But on acid, it's literally just me being like, I want to sleep, and I can't. I'm just like, nah. Yeah. Like, it was the absolute worst. I got no sleep. Took an Adderall the next day. Like, crushed out my moving. It was the most worst day of my life. Crashed the U-Haul. It was a whole thing.
Crashed the U-Haul?
Yeah, but, like, not from drugs or anything. Like,
sure.
I want to make that exception. I was not on drugs. It was the business's fault. I'm driving a big-ass U-Haul. I'm out in Lake Lago Vista picking up a couch from my friend. Like, dude, tell my friend who's with me, these are the best breakfast tacos. These are so good. We got to get them. I'm driving a little U-Haul through, like, the rinky-dink drive-through. I'm looking for, like, a caution, like, clearance sign, anything, right? Because I'm just a cautious person. I'm a cautious driver. And I don't see once. I'm like, sick, dude. Let's pull around. And I pull up to the window. The top of the U-Haul hits the fucking thing. And it was so comical. Me and my friend are laughing. Like, I wasn't laughing at the time. But this lady opens the window, looks up and goes, oh, no. She just keeps saying, like, oh, no. Oh, no. And I was just like, I don't know what you want me to do. I should have just burned off, but I'm a good person. I can't do the wrong thing. I just don't believe. I do believe in karma in like an extent. Like I don't believe in direct karma, but like I feel like when you do bad shit, it's gonna come to you because you did it. Not because you did bad things, just like by your own actions. So I was like, all right, let me pull over, give her my information. I was just like, there's no sign that says clearance. Like, yes, there is. And I like do a whole video showing that there's no sign. And she's like, it's like faced against, it pushed against something. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm good, dude. I'm not responsible, but here's my info. So my manager's coming. I was like, dude, I gotta go. I'm moving. I just burnt off. I get a call like 2 minutes later. They're like, you forgot your breakfast tacos. I was like, you know what? I appreciate your concern in my time of need, but I was like, this is a trap and I'm not going back. So yeah, it was just a whole, I don't know if I'll ever do acid again. I'd rather just do mushrooms. Like I got this like 6 gram mushroom from my friend. I just like ground it up and wait until like the time to do it. I'm not gonna do all 6 grams. That's just insane for me, but
it's a lot. Yeah.
It's way too much for anyone, I feel. But yeah, I just believe in it. It's like I usually take them when I'm struggling, like when I have a problem I'm trying to work through. That's when I save my trips. Like I literally will wait until like there's something on my mind. I'm maximum anxiety, I'm maximum depression, whatever. I just gotta figure some shit out.
That's ballsy.
I mean, it's the way to do it. You gotta face like whatever it is. Like, you know, and I'm not looking for it. I know that it will come to me. So I don't sit there thinking about it. I just go and trip and I'm just like, whatever. And then usually it'll work itself out. So that's how I feel. I
take them a lot, but I usually take them just more of like just to have a good time.
Yeah.
I actually shy away from them when I'm not feeling sometimes like I have had anxiety issues like a month ago probably for like 3 weeks, mild cases. But it was really weird because I never had that happen before. And I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
What's going on in your life, buddy? What do you want to tell us?
I quit drinking for 2 months, but I was taking this stuff called SAME, which is like an over-the-counter antidepressant.
Oh, shit.
And I just kept taking it for a while. And I think that like, because I was trying to avoid being depressed from quitting alcohol because your brain has to recalibrate.
I think that's a fallacy, my dude.
I think I overkilled, and I think that it was fucking up my levels.
You just gotta let that happen. You gotta feel that shit, dude. I'm all about it. Like when I quit stuff, I go cold turkey because I want to feel. I want to work through it. It's like working. It's like in comedy, like when you're working through the tough shit and you're anxious as fuck, you're gonna work through it. Like I want to work through those withdrawals. I want to go to the dark places. Take me there. I want to die. Like, but not like real life. Like, you know, like in my mind, I want to go there. It's kind of like, I don't know, I'll dig it. Anyways, I'm sorry, but that happened to you.
Nah, it wasn't that big of a deal.
But you should have done psychedelics instead. I think it would have been more healing, even though you're afraid. Like you were like not in a good place.
Well, I had kind of like some anxiety hit me while I was on mushrooms, and I was not cool with it. I mean,
what kind of anxiety was it?
Like felt more physical, like in your chest, like you said, like, and just, I did a whip it, and like I've done whippets a lot.
Okay,
this
you know
whip
what?
It fucked me up,
I don't care how much.
Like I couldn't walk straight. I was like off balance for a while.
Yeah, okay.
Like whippets are supposed to last 45 seconds. Like I was fucked up.
Yeah, well, you're also on mushrooms, so it's like your brain's probably taking that moment and extending that out.
I do whippets on mushrooms all the time. That's my favorite way.
You're not building your case, dude. Like you're not. Look, I only like to party and do mushrooms when I party and whippets. If I'm not feeling great, I don't want to heal, dude. I want to fucking just party more. Like balls to the wall, take it to me, straight to the dome. No, it's fine. I'm not hating on you. Everyone's got their own thing. I was just curious. Yeah. I truly believe, like, and I think, yeah, it's always helped me like that. Like, I like to use them to have fun. Like, I like to go do mushrooms and do stuff too, but I do them at the same time. Like, I'll go swimming, or I'll go like on a hike, or I'll go like somewhere and take mushrooms. And then I know, like, I'm not doing it because I want to solve that problem. I'm not feeling great, but I know it's going to help me with whatever is on my mind. Even the subconscious is going to help me. It's going to come to light. So I'll just go do those fun things and then have a small moment. It's always a small little moment that takes none of my trip. And I'd rather just work that shit out and then just keep having fun. So something to think about. Stop taking over-the-counter antidepressants. Like, that's not...
I stopped that.
Okay. And maybe, like, the whippets, like, chill. Like, maybe, like, once a year.
I chilled on the whippets for a while, but I'm back.
You're back, baby. Are we doing whippets today? What are we doing? I haven't done a whippet since I was, like, 13. My brother was, like, came in my room, and he's like, you want to do some cool stuff? And I was like, yeah, dude. It was still one of the best, funniest memories I've ever had. And I was like, that was years ago.
They're so goofy.
They're so goofy. I remember being like, whoa, like feeling this whole thing through my spine and being like, oh shit, son, this is real life. And then it was just like us laughing. And I couldn't tell if it was like we were laughing slow-mo or if I was just hearing it slow-mo. So it was like, and like, I still don't know to this day. I went to a party and they had like a Whippets tent. And I was like, I'm not going in there.
It's probably a burner party.
Oh, I mean, it was like, okay, so it's like this party that people do like once a year or something like that. And it's like everyone's on Molly. Everyone's like doing, there's a Whippets tent in the back corner. There's all crazy shit. It's not a burner party. It's like, yeah, they're not burners, but I mean, they could be. Same thing.
They could be, yeah.
It's the same.
You know how you're talking about going in circles on acid?
Yeah.
Me and my friend were on a bunch of mushrooms and we tried to play Rocket League. And he was just driving in circles, and I was playing the whole game. But as soon as I put the game down, I puked. Like,
yeah, dude, that game is like, I played that once, and I'm just so bad at games that I was already that person without acid. Like, I was that person who was just like, and everyone's like, can you give it back to whoever? Because we're on Discord, and they're like, can you give it back? I'm like, yeah, here you go, buddy. I was just trying to have fun. Fuck me, dude. Like, gamers are rude. Like,
oh yeah, it's hilarious though.
Yeah, dude, they're not fun. Like, I tried playing League of Legends over the quarantine for like 2 days, and everyone's just such an asshole. Like, can you leave the game? I'm like, no, I'm not leaving the game because I'm learning. Okay. There's a curve and I'm going to get there in like 3 years. So just wait. I quit though. I can't do games.
So where would you say you were with comedy before COVID hit? You know, you'd done a lot of these open mics and you had this residency for a bit, which you didn't like, I guess. Like, how did you feel? How did you feel things were going and where you were going to progress from there?
Yeah, it's like, I don't like talking about it in public because like my private thoughts about, I'll do it. I'm just prefacing by saying like, I want to preface by saying like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm a very humble person, like whatever. But I know for a fact, like I was fucking on one. Like I was, because I told you about that trip where I just couldn't decide between yes or no comedy, went back, balls to the wall even harder. And it's like every time you plateau in comedy, you think you're not going to get to the next and you do. Like if you push through it and you work hard, you're going to get there. And I'm not going to be famous or anything, you know what I mean? Like, but it was like, I do this to be the best. I do this best against myself. And
well, you could be.
I mean, yeah, but that's not my goal. Like, I don't, it makes me so scared to be famous. Like, I don't ever want that.
Would you like to make enough money to where you could do it full time?
I don't even know, dude. Like, because I don't really know. Maybe potentially. I think it's a tough life. I think people don't realize like how people work for like 10 years to get to that point, and you're always on the road. You're always like doing stuff. People know you all the time. Like you have no privacy. Like it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, I don't really know if I'd handle fame well. I'm already like very like insane and like whatever. And if I'm already paranoid, I'm already anxious. Like if I'm like, I have no moments to myself. Like I already don't like when people come up to me after shows. Like I like it. It's like a big confidence boost when people are like, oh dude, great set. Like whatever.
Makes you feel awkward.
But I'm an awkward person. And I'm like, I want to be nice to you, but like, I feel bad that like you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, that's obviously some kind of weird thing I need to work out, but it's like, it's nice confidence boost, but you're also just like, all right, well, have a good day. Like, you know, like, thanks for like listening to me. Like, you know, it's weird. I don't know. But I mean, maybe. But at the time of COVID happening, I remember being like, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready we have that comedy competition in Austin called FPIA, Funniest Person in Austin. I remember being ready for it because last year I didn't give a shit. I was like, that's why I wasn't nervous on stage. That's why I got a good clip because I didn't care. Like I was like, I have nothing on the line. And like now, like I don't, not that I have something on the line, but this is a club that could potentially like pay you to like open for people or
you're
pay
more
for
invested
host.
in it. You're not just screwing around.
Yeah, like you kind of have like something to prove. Like you want a good clip to send out. You want people to realize like that you are something to reckon with. Like you are one of the best in Austin. Like you want to feel that way. You know what I mean? So I felt like at first I was like, I don't know about this. And then once I came back, once the new year started, I just hit a whole other level. I took over hosting a show. I host my own show. I started hitting it harder. And yeah, dude, I was just on one. Like I was doing really well for myself, like in my opinion. And I just feel like it's like all halted, but it's like something I worked out in therapy is just my therapist being like, dude, everyone's in the same boat. Like you're not coming back less than anyone else. Like you guys are all going to be garbage. Like, and it's so true. Like I can't even imagine like me being on stage, like, oh, how about, cause like my whole thing is I also don't like doing jokes that like, hack. I don't like hacky jokes. Like a lot of people do them, but we're all pitfalls to it because it's a day-to-day experience. But I don't want to talk about COVID. I don't want to talk about, you know, wearing masks. Like when Kobe died and all these dumbass local comics thinking that they could make a funny joke about the death of somebody who's like a legend. And like, I'm like, other people who are like, have been in this game longer, who are greater comics can barely make a joke about it. Like you cannot make a joke. You know what I mean? And I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to sit through that. So it's going to be a growing pain for a little bit for people to acknowledge what happened and kind of be relatable, but also not take it to that place. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's something to think about because I don't even know if I'm going to go back. Like I had that talk with someone recently. Like I don't really know. It's just so up in the air. Like I say that I'm not going to go back, but like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I can't do anything half in, half out. So it's like, it's hard for me. Cause right now I used to put my job on the back burner and I told my boss, like, I can't take on more responsibility because I am doing this other thing that's way more my life. You know, I have to be able to get off of work and be done with work. Whereas like now I asked for a promotion, I asked for a raise and I got it. And I just want to focus on maybe having, cause I was on acid when I realized this. Someone asked me, they're like, I'm also like cooking is another passion of mine that I delved into like very hard before I moved here. I had like a side business or whatever. And it's always been a passion. I cook all the time on Instagram. It's kind of like what I do. And someone asked me like, what do you love more, cooking or comedy? And it's just like, what if you had to choose? And I'm like, I can't really do that. I can't say that to you right now. And I was like on acid. So like, I had this like really profound thought, or I thought was profound. It was just an acid thought. But I was like, cooking for me is like a safety net. Like I'll have something in the restaurant industry. I'll have something in cooking. Like it's always going to be there. comedy is a straight ass free fall. Like, it's a straight free fall. Like, you have nothing. Like, you know what I mean? So I can't just put all my eggs in that basket. You know what I mean? But a lot of comics do.
Yeah.
And that's how they succeed.
Mm-hmm.
They literally drop everything, move to New York, and then just try to like squabble it out to make it. And I don't know. Like,
you don't know if you want to do that level.
I
of
do.
commitment.
Like, if you asked me 6 months ago, I was saving up. Like, I was ready to move to Chicago, to move to New York, like, just to get out there, get out of Austin and really challenge myself, because Austin is kind of like, you know, like a circle jerk of comedy. Like, you can do well here, but the pond, you become too big for the pond. And a lot of people fall trapped to that. Or you're funny here because there's a lot of like people like-minded, but is my comedy going to work in New York where it's like the best of the best writers? And like, that's what I would want. But to get to that level, I have to do that because you can only go so far.
Well, the vaccine will come. I mean, maybe it's a year, maybe it's a year and a half, but like, you'll be able to do it again if you want to.
God damn, dude. Like, I'll be like 32. Like, fuck me. That's so sad. Because like right now I'm riding the wave of still being like, like people think I'm like
32 is not that old.
It's not that old, but people perceive me to be like in my early 20s or something like that because I've lived very irresponsibly and I look kind of young. And they're like, oh, you're so young. And I'm like, no, dude. Like, when I tell people my age, it's embarrassing at the restaurant. They're like, how old are you? I'm like, oh, I'm like 30. And they're like, oh, shit. I thought you're like 24, 23, 26, something. And I'm like, oh, damn, dude. Like, is that your perception? Like, because I have that leeway right now. When I'm 32, I'll probably still on the same bullshit. I'm not going to lie. But I don't know how it's going to, my perception of that is going to change. Like, is it going to be funny to joke about drinking wine in my car? Like, you know, Franzi, like, is that going to be funny in 2 years? I don't know. Like, is that applicable?
Maybe your comedy will change, maybe. But I mean, also, I don't see a huge difference between 30 and 32. And also, I've heard people say stuff like, I used to feel this way too. Like, Gary Vaynerchuk was like, I thought people that when they were 40, they were just fucking done. And he's now over 40 and he's like, I'm just getting started.
I'm not saying that, okay? Because I'm in my renaissance, all right? This is a whole different, like, I'm in my renaissance. Like, I finally have a check on my mental health where, like, I'm living a life where, like, I can't express to you enough. Like, I used to believe, like, truly within my heart, if I live to 30, that's good enough for me to kill myself and my family won't care. Like, that sounds dark, but it's not. I don't give a fuck. But, like, I told you I had that job where I would wake up every single day. And like, when I say that I wanted to die, like, that's not like an exaggeration. Like, I hated my life. Like, I did not want to be in this world anymore. And like, now, like, I wake up every day and I'm just like, damn, dude, what we got on the agenda, baby? Oh, a nap? Sick, dude. Love that. I'm gonna nap so fucking hard. Like, I just love my life now. And it's like, I could never like do that ever. Like, now I'm like, that's off the table, and it's like, oh, I can't do that. So it's like my renaissance. Like, this is me in my early 20s, basically. Like, I'm gaining back all the years that I wasted, you know, like having all these horrible thoughts. And, you know, I still have them. I still struggle, but it's just not as bad. And like, I see the silver lining to everything. Like, now I'm like, something sucks. I'm like, silver lining. Like, I got in a car wreck and I was like really bummed out all day. Like, I had like really bad shell shock. I was like crying at work. Like, I couldn't stop like wanting to cry. And like, but at the same time, I didn't let my mind go there. I was like, you know, I mean, I have an old car, like maybe they'll total it and give me money. Like, I don't know. Like, I was trying to think of the silver lining. That's just how I approach stuff now. So it's like, I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, oh, I'm 32. Like, what? It's just like one of those things. I don't know. But the thing is, I don't really want to settle down or anything. So I have this, you know, the world's my oyster. Like, I can go up and move to New York if I want to, if I can go do whatever I want to do. Like, so it's not bad.
Well, we're over an hour. Where can people find you online? Is your Instagram your main thing?
I mean, I do Instagram. I'm not like a very good artist on it. I don't post a lot of videos of me being creative.
You're not super into. Like,
I'm into Instagram. Like, you'll see me up on there doing some shit, but like, I'm not like making cool TikToks or videos or anything. But you can find me on Instagram. It's at Chunker Nugget. Nuggets with the K. So it's CHUNKERKNUGGET. It's kind of hard to remember, but you can probably just search my name and you'll probably, my name's so uniquely spelled.
Yeah, your Instagram popped up when I searched your name, but yeah, where'd your Chunker Nugget handle come from?
It was like when I was like in college and I thought it was like so cool. Like I was like, I'm a stoner. Cause like I didn't do drugs when I was young, you know? So I was like, when I was at college, it was like my stoner renaissance, and I was like, I'm so cool, like a chunker nugget, like a nug, you get it, like it's fat nug, like, so it's kind of embarrassing, but I love it. I still like it. It was so. I will say this one last. I know we're over time, but it was funny because this my friend's got this neighbor who has like this like YouTube channel or whatever, and he's like really insane, but like really hilarious and stuff. And he wanted to know my Instagram, and I was like, oh, it's chunker nugget. He's like, oh, it's so good that you're so comfortable with yourself. I was like, dude, what? It was like the weirdest thing, but it was so funny. Like, no one gets the name? I don't know where I'm going with that. It's not even funny, but it was funny. It was funny to me. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And whatever. He couldn't even read, didn't pronounce it right, but that's the end of that story. But you guys can find me there. Thanks for having me. Had a lot of fun unpacking all this trauma. I'll probably cry later about. I'm just kidding. I won't. I'll just get drunk.
Cool. It was really fun having you on.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. That was great. I loved it. Fun.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun.